Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up during inflation, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, bit to get 30, bit to get 20, 20, 20, bit to get 20, 20, bit to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold!
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 up front for 3 months plus taxes and fees. Promo rate for new customers for limited time. Unlimited more than 40 gigabytes per month. Slows full terms at mintmobile.com.
Today on CityCast Boise, Bloomberg News broke a bombshell story yesterday. The U.S. Supreme Court accidentally released an unofficial draft opinion of Idaho's emergency abortion ban case. Executive producer Frankie Barnhill and I are breaking down what this opinion might mean for our community, what the actual ruling could look like, plus the impact on local doctors and patients. It's Thursday, June 27th. I'm Lindsay Van Allen, and this is what Boise's talking about. Well, Frankie, it feels a little bit like Groundhog's Day. We've seen this before, but it looks like the Supreme Court accidentally released an opinion on another abortion case.
We're just, reading through this and absorbing it right now. Full disclosure, we're recording this Wednesday early afternoon. So when folks are hearing this on Thursday morning, you might have had time to sit with your coffee and read through the whole opinion. And again, this is not official. This is a draft. I have to say that a million times. So we don't know if this is real, but wow, I was surprised that we're seeing this right now. This act, what the Supreme Court is acknowledging was an accidental release of a draft opinion.
Yeah, I thought it was really interesting. Bloomberg broke the story. And at that time, 2 hours ago, the Supreme Court had not acknowledged, but at the time of this recording, the Supreme Court has admitted, yes, this was an accidental release, or this wasn't exactly how they planned it, but it is an official opinion. It's not the decision.
Right.
But was an opinion.
Was an opinion, maybe not the final opinion. We don't know. Could this change between now and when they finally actually release this? But, this is regardless, as you pointed out, was it? Yeah, it was two years ago when there was a accidental release. Some say perhaps not fully accidental in that case. That was the preview for when the Dobbs decision, when Roe v. Wade fell. So here we are again with another abortion case. And it feels like the documents are kind of slippery over at the Supreme Court. I don't know what's going on over there, but yeah. Fascinating for us to see perhaps an early glimpse of the fact that they are potentially ruling in favor of the Biden administration on this.
Yeah, let's really dive into, without further ado, let's really dive into what did this leaked opinion say? And then I really also want to get into what does that mean? So what will that look like when this becomes official?
The lifting of the stay was the main thing. Are you seeing that as well? The stay that was put in place by a lower court, which meant that emergency abortion care was not in place for Idahoans for several months now.
Yes. And I know this was so confusing. There was so much back and forth. So I want to give just a very brief Reader's Digest version of what has happened with this case. So Idaho instituted an abortion ban, a near total abortion ban, without any health exception. The Biden administration, the Department of Justice, sued Idaho over that because under EMTALA, your health is supposed to be assessed and you're supposed to be stabilized to protect your health, not just your life. So the Biden administration felt that EMTALA was in conflict with Idaho's laws. So they sued Idaho, and the Idaho District Court put an injunction in the Idaho abortion ban. So even though there was a near total abortion ban at that time, if you had a medical emergency, a doctor in the emergency department could perform an abortion to protect your health or your life.
Yeah, it was an exception. It was a carve out that they created.
Yes. And so then the case went to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. And when it was in the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, a partial court struck down the injunction. And so the injunction was in place momentarily it was about for a week. And then a full Ninth Circuit Court reinstated the injunction. And so that was a little quick back and forth that was pretty stressful for people. Then the Supreme Court agreed to hear this case. And when they did that, they struck down the injunction. So the full effect of the Idaho abortion ban was in place.
Yeah, so there was this incredible back and forth, as you're saying, of, okay, you can get emergency abortion care. Okay, no, you can't. Okay, you can't. And for the last several months, it's been, no, you cannot receive an emergency abortion no matter what in Idaho. Or if you do, that it's very sticky, and it's led to a lot of people seeking care outside of the state, as we know.
Yes. And basically because of the liability and the back and forth, hospitals were not keen on providing those abortions. So starting in January, when that happened, there started to be so many more life flights out of Idaho to states like Utah for emergency abortion care. And we saw that the amount of life flights went up 6 times just from January to April compared to the entire year of 2023. They were having to life flight a pregnant person out of Idaho every other week.
Yeah, and that's just through April. So we don't have data for May and June. And yeah, I mean, this is remarkable. We should say that, of course, if this draft, accidental draft, whatever, is real, the court voted 6-3. So in favor of the Biden administration and in favor of allowing emergency abortions to return to Idaho and lifting this stay, which of course means that some conservative justices, including Justice Barrett and Justice Kavanaugh, voted with the liberals. What do you think of that?
Well, we had talked earlier when we've had some coverage about this, that they really grilled the Idaho Attorney General's office on this case and on their standing in this case and what they were trying to argue. And I thought that was really interesting. I wasn't sure if it was more for show or really where they were going to fall on this, but it looks like if this leaked opinion is accurate, they were very skeptical of the Idaho case.
Yeah, and that, of course, Supreme Court Justice Roberts also voted with the liberals, and according to this draft, again, it was Justice Thomas, Justice Alito, and Justice Gorsuch that dissented. But it doesn't necessarily mean, though, it's not like that, okay, more emergency abortions are fully back and that like this ban is struck down or anything like that, right? I mean, there could still be a lot that goes on with this after this potential ruling if it comes true.
Yeah, so it's important to remember that this wasn't necessarily being argued on the merits of the case. What was being argued was the injunction. Now, Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson had a separate opinion saying, while this is here, we also need to be talking about the merits of the case because that is what part of the lawyers and the different teams were discussing. So let's just decide this because it will likely be back. What this does now is this just sends it back to the district court's decision. And their main decision was the injunction because of the risk of harm to women and pregnant people in the state. So what they're basically saying is, let's go back to the district court, decide it on the merits, and it will work its way through the court system again. But the district court's decision was that while they were discussing the merits of the case, there would be the injunction. So if this opinion is really what they're doing, it would basically be a dismissal of the case saying, come back about the merits. The district court did an injunction. That's in place now. So if this is truly the decision, then there is an injunction on the Idaho law. It doesn't get rid of the Idaho law, but there's an injunction on its enforcement. So as soon as this is officially released, in Idaho, you could get an abortion if your health is in danger and you're in an emergency situation.
Right. And that the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, which is based in San Francisco, could re-examine this and look at both that element as well as the greater abortion ban. But at this point, we don't know. We don't know. This is still so fresh and this is not official, as we keep saying over and over again.
Yes. So, and I think, at the end of the day, what people want to know is what is going to happen?
Yeah.
What does this...
What's my health care look like?
Yeah, right. What does this mean? If you're pregnant, you want to know, if I go to the emergency room, can I get all of the care, all of the stabilizing care that I might need. This isn't like a total abolition of the Idaho law. This actually doesn't do anything with the Idaho law besides kick it back to the lower court's decision, the Idaho District Court's decision to place an injunction. But while that injunction is in place, this would be, it's not permanent, but it would be a relief, I think, to most pregnant people and most emergency doctors in the state that while the injunction is in place, yes, if you have an emergency, go to the emergency room. They are going to be able to assess you, stabilize you for your health and your life. You'll have full access to EMTALA while that injunction is in place. So there are a lot of naysayers even right now saying, hey, this isn't permanent. This will be back through the courts. They're right. But as someone who's worked in healthcare in Idaho, knowing that you can provide the highest level of care to your patients today or tomorrow is huge. Knowing you can go to work and do your job is a big damn deal.
Hi, I'm David Plotz, CEO of CityCast. Or, as I can say now, thanks to a few weeks with Babbel, hola, soy David Plotz, el jefe de CityCast. What if in 2024 you got a little bit better every day? When you're learning a new language with Babbel, that's exactly what you're doing. And if Babbel can help me start speaking a new language in just 3 weeks, imagine what you could do in a full year. I got started with Babbel because I realized that my girlfriend, who's a native Spanish speaker, and my son, who's in AP Spanish, were conspiring against me, or I thought they were conspiring against me in Spanish. I wanted to know what they were talking about. And now, thanks to literally just a few weeks of Babbel, I'm starting to be able to eavesdrop. It is rare that something so fun and simple, and Babbel is super fun and very simple, is also so useful. So here's a special limited time deal for CityCast listeners. Right now, get up to 60% off your Babbel subscription, but only for CityCast listeners at babbel.com/CityCast. Get up to 60% off at babbel.com/CityCast. Spelled BABBEL.com/CityCast. Rules and restrictions may apply.
Families have a lot going on. Let Ollie help manage the mental load with new cognitive help supplements for everyone 4 and up, like delicious Lolly Focus Pops or Lolly Mellow Pops for kids. And for parents, try 3 new Brainy Chews to help you focus, chill out, or get energized. Find these cognitive health buddies for the whole fam at ollie.com. That's OLLY.com. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Frankie, this has been a whirlwind, but have you gotten a chance to talk to anybody locally? Have you heard anything or seen anything about how people are responding to this leak?
Yeah. So again, if this opinion does become, in fact, the official ruling, we shall see. But we did receive a press release from Planned Parenthood in Idaho, and they basically said, quote, based on the information we have right now, we can't know whether the decision briefly shared on the Supreme Court website this morning was final or not. We're, of course, eagerly watching to see what the result will be. But however the justices decide, we shouldn't be here in the first place, alluding to, of course, 2 years ago when the Dobbs decision meant that, states like Idaho could put these really restrictive bans in place. So Planned Parenthood, seemingly, very interested, obviously, in this decision if it doesn't, in fact, become the official ruling. And then, but still kind of hedging and as we just talked about, this isn't over. There's more legal battles to go on. I did see, though, this was kind of very fascinating timing. So again, we're recording this Wednesday afternoon. Wednesday morning, there had been a plan in place for Health and Human Services Secretary Javier Becerra was in Boise today on Wednesday. And this was a pre-planned trip. It was part of kind of a tour around the country. Just so happens he's in Boise on Wednesday when this draft opinion was accidentally posted on the Supreme Court's website for a second.
That's serendipitous.
It really, really was. And he's in Boise to talk about reproductive rights and was on a panel with Mayor McLean and several local healthcare providers, and I think at least one person who had needed abortion care at some point during the bans. And anyway, so that was just wild timing. And some reporter in the crowd asked him, I think it was Joe Paris from KTVB, asked him a very timely question after this came out. And he kind of, hedged, of course, because it's not official. But some of the providers on the panel said, hey, hope this is true. Hope this ruling is right, because we desperately need this carve out, but it doesn't solve the bigger problem for them in their mind, which means, much more to come if this indeed does become the actual ruling.
Yeah, no, it's definitely one of those situations where you can breathe a small sigh of relief, but it's not over. Right. So it's, definitely one of those things. It still is an issue. And as the doctors have said, the idea that you can't use all of your training and all of your knowledge to provide care to your patients is hard, and why we've lost nearly 1 in 4 OBGYNs in our state since the Dobbs decision.
Yeah. What is your reaction, Lindsay? I mean, it sounds like on a personal level, you're at least hopeful that this might be the official ruling, at least right now. A little glimmer of hope. How are you feeling?
Yeah, I'm definitely a cynical optimist. So I let my hopes get up just enough to get broken all the time. But again, I've worked in ERs. I've seen how this plays out, and I'm trying to temper it with, this isn't the official ruling, of course, and there is so much more work to be done. But having talked to emergency physicians, having talked to other people who work in emergency departments, just knowing that an injunction provides that cover for protecting a patient's health, that is a big deal. And they've been working since January under this incredibly stressful situation where, unless the patient is actively dying, they can't provide an abortion as healthcare. And so they've been having to try to stabilize and emergently transport patients. Yeah. And so it's not over. This shouldn't be, it's not the end. It's not the end for providers. It's not the end for pregnant people. It's not the end for Idahoans. Arguing the merits of the case potentially has implications for the entire country. Right. But it is a very big deal to be able to have even a health exception because of an injunction. That is a big deal for people in healthcare. That is a big deal for pregnant people. So if this is official, it is a tiny glimmer of hope in what has been an incredibly stressful and just absolutely discouraging healthcare field for so long in this state.
Yeah, I think you echo a lot of sentiments, obviously, of people who want to see reproductive access be available in Idaho. As a journalist, I'm just going, wow, thanks, Bloomberg, for capturing this. Still don't know what it really means, but jumping on this and having this be, again, another accidental draft on a topic that is like the topic of the day, abortion. And we're seeing, as we head into the general election, stepping back from Idaho and the national politics and how the Biden administration is trying to capitalize on the backlash to Roe v. Wade falling 2 years ago. Just fascinating time. Fascinating time to be a Supreme Court reporter for those of you who are covering this even closer than we are. And then, of course, fascinating to see what it means for locals in Idaho who will be directly impacted by this decision. And you and I, we've been waiting. We're like, okay, maybe the decision comes today. Oh, not today. Okay, maybe the decision will come today for the last couple of weeks. And it's not the official decision, but getting to see perhaps a glimpse of what this could be has been a very interesting few hours, and we'll see what happens going forward.
Yeah, it will be very interesting to see how this story continues to unfold. That's all for today here on CityCast Boise. If you enjoyed the show, you should subscribe to our Hey Boise newsletter for breaking Supreme Court updates. We'll be back tomorrow morning with our Friday News Roundup. You won't want to miss it.